Welcome to our Plastics in Our Environment webinar. We are presenting this, hosting it, I guess you should say, through the Missouri Environmental Education Association, which is MIA. My name is Jamin. I'm the co-director of MIA, and Leslie Moylan is our other co-director of MIA. And we're a nonprofit that works statewide. Our mission is to connect all learners, to help connect all learners across our state to care, understand, and act about the environment. And we can't think of anything more important this day and age than to talk about plastics in our environment. So we are going to have some of the best, top-notch experts in that field, no pressure, that will be presenting for you in just a minute. But before we do that, I know our presenters and Leslie and I both too want to know who's here. And if you could just share in the chat your names and where you live. I know we have some folks, most of the folks are from Missouri, but we do have a few who have joined or who have registered who are from Arkansas. We appreciate that very much. And go ahead and we'll just like scroll that down. Everybody just add your chat. We want to know where you're from. There's somebody from Waynesville. Yay, Emily. And if everybody is able to take a look at the chat, you can see who your cohort is today for this webinar. This is being recorded, so this will be posted not only on our website, but on our YouTube channel as well. So if you do know of someone who was not able to come, let them know that we are recording. As these names and places where you live, it's so fun. It's so cool to see our state come alive like this. There's Aaron. Yay, Aaron. There's Como. Love it. In the meantime, I know looking at our registration, we have 5-ish, I think, out of 28 registrants who are already young environmental leader members or mentors. And what I would ask you all to do, those of you who are already members, if you could just speak up and go ahead and just speak up and tell our audience one great reason to join the Young Environmental Leaders membership. Anybody who's ready to just chime in.
Hi guys. Sorry, I was just like eating a bunch of chili, so now I'm here. Now I'm good.
There's Addie.
So one really good thing that comes out of being a yeller is getting to meet other people like-minded as you and being able to network and kind of see like, oh, there's other people who find this important. Nice.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. Thanks, Addie. Yeah, anybody else? We've got Paula, I know, is here, and JJ.
I can just say that being in YEL and being a yeller, I definitely got a lot more experiences and a lot more networking opportunities if I hadn't had joined. So lots of good stuff going on there, and they're sent in the group me quite a bit. So that was always really fun to see what was going on in jobs I didn't know about.
Right. Great. Let's do one more.
Hey, I'm Paula. I second what Jamin said. I always like seeing whenever Jamin sends jobs or like internships or anything in the group me, even though I'm not in the market for any of that right now. I still think it's really nice to see those opportunities and to like file them away for the future.
That's cool, yeah.
Thank you. Well, we do. Thanks, y'all. Appreciate you speaking up like that. And we do have a QR code there on the slide. If you're interested in joining MIA as a young environmental leader or any other category, just use that QR code and keep in mind that all of our memberships are pay what you can. We don't want cost to ever be a barrier for you at all. We don't want you to feel like you can't join us and be a part of this movement, if you will, of environmental education. So be sure and if you need that QR code again later, just let us know and we'll get back to that. Okay. So it's time to introduce our 3 experts, our speakers. We are so thrilled and so grateful. Thank you all very much for agreeing to do this. You're all brilliant, but we also know you're super busy. And so for you to take some time out on a Thursday night, it means a lot to us, and I know it means a lot to our participants too. So I will start with Luz Rooney, co-founder of Beyond Plastics, Missouri, Wisconsin, a chapter of the larger nonprofit organization called Beyond Plastics. It has the mission to end single-use plastics through education, advocacy, and policy change. Love it. Luz is a member for the Green Schools Quest, supporting student-led sustainability efforts in pre-K through 12 schools. She is a bureau member of the Montessori Model United Nations, wow, assisting students across the US and globally, addressing pressing issues of our time and formulating solutions while following UN protocols. See, an expert, I'm telling you what. Luz is also a climate reality trained leader and mentor, co-chair of the Missouri River Region Chapter Climate Reality, and citizen science researcher studying both plastic pollution and bees. Love that. So we're so thrilled that Luz could join us this evening. Our second presenter will be our buddy Dana Ripper, Executive Director and co-founder of Missouri River Bird Observatory. Dana Ripper is a wildlife ecologist who focuses on conservation via ecosystem health. She has an MS in ecology from Arkansas State University and worked on wildlife research projects across the US before making Missouri home in 2008. Of course, selfishly, we're so glad you did that. In 2010, Dana co-founded the Missouri River Bird Observatory, often called MIRBO, a nonprofit organization dedicated to conservation via science, education, and advocacy. Since plastic production and waste mismanagement pose significant threats to climate stability, biotic and abiotic natural resources, and human health and quality of life, one of Dana's main emphasis in her work with MIRBO is systemic reduction in single-use plastics. That's right. MIRBO is an affiliate organization of Break Free from Plastic and Beyond Plastics. Dana is a certified presenter with the Beyond Plastics Speakers Bureau, and she does wonderful work through Conservation Federation of Missouri advocacy as well. So I want to lift you up for that. And our third presenter, we're so thrilled to have Mary Culler with us, Executive Director of Stream Teams United since 2018. Before her current role, she worked as a fisheries management biologist with the Missouri Department of Conservation and as an environmental specialist with the Missouri Department of Natural Resources. Mary received her BS in biology from Southwest Missouri State University, and where I came from, and an MS in environmental sciences from Iowa State University. Mary is a native of Southwest Missouri and has worked on water-related projects in Missouri since she began her professional career in 2006. Mary's favorite part of her current position is working with the enthusiastic and passionate volunteers of, that's right, the Missouri Stream Team program. We're so thrilled that all 3 of you have joined us this evening. And we would like to start with Luz Rooney to start the presentations.
Thank you so much for this presentation, and thank you, Mia, for inviting us to participate in this panel. It is really an honor for me to be speaking tonight to you all with Mary and with Dana. I had done some work with Mary for the past 2 years in policy related to water in our state, and it has been an incredible a journey. And with Dana, being that she's also part of Beyond Plastics, our work, our collaboration has been just amazing. So thank you to Mia, Leslie, and to Dana and Mary for this opportunity actually to be with you all. I'm going to open my PowerPoint. You'll see it. Let's see if I can put it on. Trying to change it to oopsies. Let's see. Oops. Nope. Can you all see it? Can you see my presentation? I'm trying to
Are you
make
trying
a,
to start the slideshow?
yes.
So you were almost there. Go down to it, see where it says design, right
Yes.
under. Scroll over. There's just like transitions, animations, and then slideshow, and click that. I think it's just hiding. Go over 2 more animations, and then
Slideshow
yeah,
from the beginning. Thank
there
you.
we go.
All right. Thank you so much. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a little bit of background as to how I came to work with plastics. My first shock with plastic pollution came about 2011 or 12 when I was doing research in the Philippines and in Cambodia for my capstone for my master's degree at Washington University. I have a master's degree in nonprofit management. And we were living in Singapore at the time. And so I traveled to the Philippines and to Cambodia to do my research. And it's there that I see the amount of plastic pollution, especially in rivers. And what really shocked me was to see children happily swimming in this very contaminated water. And so it sort of like made a big impression on me, but I was not working in this space at the moment, and it's just sort of like stored in the back of my mind. And is working through the United Nations Association that this impression came back to me in about 10 years ago. I was able to organize a webinar where I invited Dr. Kara Lavender Lowe from the C School of Education in Boston, and Dr. Manny, a scientist with the ocean cleanup in the Netherlands, to come and speak to us about plastic pollution because they were doing research or work in the Pacific and in the Atlantic Ocean, and I wanted to see what was happening, what was the latest research. That webinar led into me being able to do a minor, probably 3 6 months research for the ocean cleanup. The Ocean Cleanup is the only nonprofit that is actually doing research looking at plastic in water, floating in water. The majority of the plastic pollution that is being researched or when data collection is being done on plastic pollution on land, in parks, in lakes, in near lakes, but around in ground and not in water. And so the issue I had with the app that they use is that at the time the app was only used for the ocean, not it was not adjusted for rivers, and we don't have ocean here, obviously. And my interest was to do it here on the Mississippi and the Missouri River. The other issue I had with it is that it requires to do data for you to be standing on a bridge, which was difficult for me to do because bridges in the city of St. Louis are not safe. And so I was not able to continue this work with them. And so I pivoted and I found Beyond Plastics. So Beyond Plastics is a nonprofit that was started by Judith Eng, who is a former EPA regional administrator under former Vice President Obama. She founded this nonprofit in 2019. And so I was able to get trained by her and her team at the 3 levels of training that they offer. And then we created this chapter here in St. Louis when she started in Missouri to go Missouri and Wisconsin with another colleague of mine who was part of Climate Reality. at the moment which he wanted to expand and have chapters across the US to have a presence, to bring awareness, to do education on plastic pollution and the impacts on not only on the environment, but also on health. I attend the technical meetings for the United Nations Plastic Pollution Treaty. This is a program that started in 2022 with the United Nations, and this is the International Intergovernmental Negotiations Committee. The first negotiation started in Uruguay, and I started following up this information and attending technical meetings before these negotiations occur. The negotiations are attended usually by member states and by nonprofits that have accreditation with the United Nations. Beyond Plastics does not have accreditation, and so I had no chance of even attempting to attend any of these meetings in person, the negotiations, as an observer. And so I was invited to attend the one that was presented in Canada, but again, because there was no accreditation from Beyond Plastics or even Climate Reality, I was not able to participate. And I thought, oh my goodness, what a missed opportunity with all this information. Because when you go to technical meetings, you are having information not only from member states, from the environmental departments of ministers of different countries and ambassadors, but also from scientists with the latest information on plastic pollution in policy in the problems in their country, especially receiving countries, developing countries that are receiving the plastic pollution that comes from developed countries like the US, the UK, and other countries. And so this year, I was attempting to attend the negotiations happening in Geneva, but because I'm part of the Montessori Model UN, I'm a bureau member, and they have certification accreditation by the United Nations, but the letter came late, and so I was not able to register on time, and there was no extension for NGOs, for nonprofits to attend, and so I thought, okay, this is done. Another missed opportunity. But in one of the technical meetings, there was a message, a call for assisting Benjamin Von Wong from Canada. He is an artist, is an activist who was going to make an installation of one of his art pieces during the Geneva negotiations, making a really big effort in bringing attention to the health impacts on health for plastic pollution. And when I saw the document that they sent to me, I said, well, how am I going to help him? I'm not allowed to attend because I passed registration time. I passed, and I cannot do this. But in tiny blue letters, there was an option to be a remote, to help remotely. And I said, what can you do remotely? I mean, people are going to be working more, on the ground. So Geneva by the negotiations, and I mean, what can I do? And so I fill out the information, and voila, I was accepted. In my role during this process was to evaluate actually scientific research that the crew that Benjamin was able to organize in Geneva was going to highlight as they worked to bring attention to the health impacts of plastic pollution on health. And so I was able to do review of this scientific information, 25 pages of it. It was supposed to be 30 pages. I couldn't do more because it took me until 4 o'clock in the morning, the difference in time, to go through all this information, to make corrections and provide the correct information for them to work. Because I have attended I attended meetings before the negotiations. I had a lot of names of people who actually take part of the actual negotiations from member states, from countries. And so I was able to provide that information and connect them to these people who had a say in the actual language for the treaty, which was really important. We were following news from around the world, also in trying to highlight who was taking into account what Benjamin was doing. But in doing that, we were also able to see what was the media covering, what was the focus of the media covering around the world on these negotiations. And so that was an incredible experience. There was a documentary done after the program was over, one on the entire process of getting a team organized to do this work in Geneva. A beautiful statue was presented, and it was every day of the negotiations. Plastic was put in around this art piece to to have a visual of how much plastic we have in the system. And there was another documentary that was done specifically related to how plastic pollution is affecting our health, especially in regards to newborns, and how young people are thinking, do I want to have children, given the situation that we're in? So this is sort of like the background of how it all started. Again, observation of something that I saw many years before my work began in this space. So now let's move on about plastics. So what is plastics? We know that plastics are synthetic materials that are made of chemicals. It's man-made. It's 90% made out of fossil fuels, crude oil and gas. The crude oil is extracted, and during the process, there is a big impact in the environment from the methane gases and from the carbon gases that are released. The oil is extracted either through drilling or through fracking. During fracking, water, chemicals, and sand is actually injected in the ground to break some of the structure in the ground for the oil to be released. When this oil is extracted, it's taken into a refinery where through heating at temperature between 600 and 750 degrees is separated and refined and separated into different molecules. The molecules in this case, when they're combined, form polymers, which become the foundation to create plastics. The natural gas is the one that has the backbone for virgin plastics. And in this situation, when they create pellets, they're transferred to another location to form the products that we use in every day. We buy those products at the market, and then we dispose of them. We know that since the 1950s, when the production of plastic pollution of plastics began, about 8 billion metric tons of plastic have been created. We know that 79% go into a landfill, that in the US, 12% of it is incinerated, and that recycling at the global level, 9% is recycled, and in the US, 6% is recycled. So recycling is not working. And from the plastics that have been made since the 1950s, 90% of them are still in the environment in some form or shape. When we look at when global awareness of plastic as a problem started, we know that in 1966, two biologists who were doing research in Hawaii first encountered the idea or the problem of seabirds ingesting plastic pieces. And in this case was this specific bird in Hawaii. The young were dying in big numbers. And so this is the first time that this awareness that the plastic pollution in the environment, and in this case in Hawaii, is on the beaches. There's actually a documentary. If you search 1966, Carl and Eugene, you will get information about the Obasters seabirds. I didn't want to have the picture of the actual situation there because it's pretty dramatic. But again, this is plastic on land affecting birds, and for the first time is being reported. Then we look in 1972 in the Atlantic Ocean where microplastics are found by Dr. Carpenter, who is just doing some research on his own for other things, and he finds plastic in the water. And the first time that in the Atlantic is seen that plastic is not just staying in land, but it's just making an impact in the ocean that is coming that way. In 2003, we find Captain Moore, who is traveling from California to Hawaii, and he discovers the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Actually, the ocean cleanup started working because they discovered this too, and they began their work with this thing. Moving forward to 2022, now we have not only discovered the problem of plastics moving into the ocean from land, but also now having microplastics in human blood. So what are microplastics? So microplastics are particles that are smaller than 5 millimeters. In this bottle of water, you can see that we even have smaller pieces that are called nanoplastics. Plastics do not degrade. They break down with the sunlight. They lose their integrity and they break. We have two kinds of microplastics in the environment. We have the primary microplastics, which are actually made for products to be used in products and cosmetic products. Actually, mascara apparently has microplastics, which is like, what do we need microplastics in mascara? That's as scary as it can be. Toothpaste and glitter, and also exfoliating facial cleaners. There was a law actually in 2000 and 2000s where micro beads were banned in the U.S. And also in Europe, but we still have microbeads in exfoliating, especially exfoliating facial cleaners. I don't think it's in toothpaste anymore. And the issue with this is that once it goes into the water, these are small particles that are going to affect the ecology wherever they land. And the secondary microplastics are the ones that are from actual plastic that breaks down. They also come from tires and from textiles from our clothing, which are no longer cotton, but the majority of them are synthetic. So when we walked, we actually shed some of these microfabrics without knowing. So what is the impact of microplastics in our health? The main issue is that they mimic hormones. So they're acting as endocrine disruptors. The endocrine system is a system or a network of glands that produce hormones, and the hormones regulate everything in the functioning of our body, from regulating temperature, our digestion, the sugar levels, the development in humans. And basically, as you look in this graph, in the brain, you have the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland that are the ones who basically talk to each other and send signals. The hormones are released into our bloodstream, going straight into organs, and so they respond to whatever it needs to happen in the pancreas or the kidneys or even your reproductive system. And so when you have microplastics acting or mimicking hormones, they're interrupting that communication. And this is when we have all kinds of problems, issues related to cancers, infertility, for example. You see in youth developing a lot sooner than before. You may probably see it's very common to see a young girl as young as 9 years of age with breasts already developed, 11 years of age, looking almost like a 16 or 20-year-old. So children are developing a lot faster, and again, because it's this endocrine interruption, disruption happening. What can we do? Who is doing work in this field? One thing that we recommend is to stop using plastics, single-use plastics or plastic in general as much as you can, especially the plastic bags. We recommend not using any plastic to microwave or to heat food on, because when plastic is exposed to heat, it activates the chemicals in the container, and that transfers into your food, and so you're eating contaminated food, not knowing. It's important to engage in research and policy change. We need people who can translate the technicality of this, of the research, people who can actually translate it in different languages. That's one thing that I did with the work that I did with Benjamin. One of the documentaries, I was able to translate the information so that the movie could be, the documentary could be shared with others. We need to rethink packaging, to rethink how we create these products. The ocean cleanup is taking a lot of cleaning a lot of rivers around the world, but what do you do with the stuff that you collect? Where does it go? To landfill? What can you do with it? So we need to rethink how we deal with the plastic that we connect. If we have anyone is scouting here with the program, the scouting the council at the national level here in the U.S. is working actually using the marine debris track, which was an app that was developed at the University of Georgia to track plastic pollution on land and water. And the scouts are doing that. So if you have scouts here, please connect, because I'd be happy to engage with the program, how to use the marine debris app, and how to get groups here to organize. Fire Jars had Dr. Marcus, who also does research on water, microplastics. They use the trash bliss to track plastic, especially in national parks. This is a program that they do at the beginning of the year all the way until October. They just finished the tracking whatever they had in the US. You can also track on your own, which is important. Cafeteria Culture is a nonprofit out of New York. They had 4th and 5th grade students who worked for 2 years on doing data collection, understanding what plastic does. They were actually working in their cafeteria to try to eliminate styrofoam from their cafeteria. And 4th and 5th graders in Brooklyn were able to change the legislation in New York City. All the public schools got rid of the styrofoam in their cafeteria. This organization is hosting what they call plastic-free lunch days, which is going to run from November 17th to the 21st. So any school that is interested in running a plastic-free lunch day can present their documentary, can organize and do an audit of the plastic in their school, and then start working on trying to change legislation. So thank you so much.
Oh gosh. Thank you, Luz. I feel so much smarter now than I did earlier. I just feel like I understand this concept so much better. We do have I neglected at the beginning and to mention that if you do have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. And I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and allow all of our speakers to speak about this topic, and then we'll go into the Q&A after that, so that we don't get maybe too caught up in one particular presenter's presentation. That being said, Luz, thank you so much. And wow, this is one of those things where you go, this is a global thing. You know, it's not just us. And the Earth is place-based for us. And so we have some great questions popping up. We'll get to those here very, very soon, but we're going to go ahead and thank you again, Luz, and we're gonna throw it over to our buddy Dana now so that she can do her presentation. And after that, we'll have Mary, and then we'll have our Q&A. So thank you again very much, Luz.
Hey everyone, and Luz, that was great. I always like hearing about your work with the UN negotiations. Luz will be back
Yeah.
actually doing a presentation for MRBO next year that I'll mention at the end. Her instructions from Jamin and Leslie. I'm going to speak a little bit about the organization that I'm with, which is the Missouri River Bird Observatory, tell you a bit about the Conservation Federation of Missouri, and then talk just a little bit about plastics. I'm very grateful that Luz went through, a lot of the foundational material just then. So for folks on here that, might be finding their own pathways, I got a basic bachelor's in biology in Illinois, and then, as Jamin mentioned earlier, got an MS in wildlife ecology at Arkansas State. I worked all over the country. It was awesome doing seasonal field jobs here and there. I think I did it a little backwards from the timing that most people do. I feel like most folks do this like between undergrad and grad, but I did grad first and then traveled around doing a lot of bird jobs specifically. Here are just a few of the very cool birds that I was fortunate enough to work on: the greater prairie chicken, red cockaded woodpecker, and various species of warblers and other songbirds at a variety of migration stations. Spent some time doing private lands work with Rocky Mountain Bird Observatory, which is now Bird Conservancy of the Rockies. Moved to Missouri, sort of, was still kind of traveling around a little bit, and luckily went to upstate New York to work on this bird, which is a veery, a thrush, kind of related to a robin or a wood thrush. And happily, most fortunately, on that project in New York, I met this guy who's Ethan Duke. He's now my husband, and we co-founded the Missouri River Bird Observatory here in Saline County, Missouri in 2010. Um, so what even is a bird observatory? Because it is really a bit of an old-fashioned name at this point. It's basically just what it sounded like. Sometimes there was bird banding involved, but basically keeping counts of birds. So like quite literally just like observing birds and recording them and recording their population numbers. But these days, almost every bird observatory on the planet is working on conservation issues. Because we have a serious conservation problem. We've lost about 30% of our birds in North America in the last 50 years. So obviously this is, something that needs attention, as do wildlife in almost all other taxa that we can think of, right? It's not just birds. So why even do this? Why start a bird observatory? Well, here in Missouri at the time, there was really kind of an open niche for bird research and monitoring specifically on kind of a larger scale. Certainly nature education and outreach, using birds as like a gateway animal. Most people like birds. It's a great way to get folks of all ages really into caring about nature. And there was room to like sort of bolster nonprofit and agency partnership work. This is not at all to say that like nobody was doing anything on birds, or nobody was doing anything with like nature education and outreach. There was just a very bird specific niche that we saw that could maybe be filled. So we did, and we're still here, so I guess we filled it. So from the beginning, our focal areas were science and education, and we wanted to track bird populations mostly in response to land management. So is our land management, whether that's public or private land, is that doing well to sustain our bird populations? Birds are a very good indicator species or set of species. They're relatively easy to study, more so than a lot of other critters. And so they can be a really good indicator of habitat health and ecosystem health and response to management. So we've been doing this on both public and private habitats, our most imperiled habitats in Missouri across the state. And we also do a lot of work with like GIS and data analysis. And Ethan is a drone pilot. So we're doing a lot of remote mapping using a drone as well. Also, kind of from the beginning of the organization, we got very much into education, with both youth and adult in urban and rural settings, certainly in person, but then in 2020 and beyond, there's been a lot of things like what we're on now, virtual sessions, whether it's presentations or meetings or whatever. Um, and we kind of have a bit of like a spectrum, because obviously one isn't going to introduce a young kid of 7 or 8 or whatever to like all of these conservation issues that we all know about. So in the case of younger kids, we're just really trying to get them like comfortable with the outdoors and aware of what's around them, and ultimately to appreciate it, which when it comes to most kids, they're pretty much about there anyway. Just give them a little bit more tools to enjoy what's around them. And then ultimately, of course, we're trying to work with people to really take an active role in conservation. So because of that last bit, a few years into our organization, like 4, we really started sort of like actualizing that our mountains of data on birds and their habitats and things like that, however robust and large a sample size we had, of our study species, just having those data didn't necessarily affect action and change. It might help a couple land managers maybe do a little bit more, but as far as like really moving the needle, as far as people in general caring about conservation and wildlife, having all the data in the world is not going to do it. And that even sometimes if they knew the facts that we were telling them about, for example, bird populations, it that also didn't necessarily lead to change. So because of this, um, we ended up kind of in this policy advocacy realm, and we believe that science should inform policies, and that hopefully education leads to caring and action and ultimately civic engagement. So, from the sort of more basic research, monitoring, and basic nature enjoyment education programs we were doing, we eventually pretty quickly entered the policy advocacy realm. Um, so this is our mission tagline now: conservation via science, education, and advocacy. And this brings us to the Conservation Federation of Missouri because MRBO joined as an affiliate quite early. Stream Teams United, you're going to hear from Mary, also an affiliate. Mia, also an affiliate. There's more than 105. I think it's about 110 right now affiliates in this organization, plus a lot of individual members. So this is a large statewide sort of umbrella organization that um, is considered the voice for Missouri outdoors. That is one of CFM's taglines. So really brief history. What you're looking at here is the advertisement in 1935 for an initiative petition to put on the ballot the creation of the Missouri Department of Conservation as we now know it, and the Conservation Commission. So basically, um, regular Missourians, mostly sportsmen, in 1935, it was pretty much men, got together and said, we have like decimated wildlife populations. Our deer are almost down to nothing. Turkeys are almost down to nothing. We really need to do something about this. So regular people got together, put the initiative petition together, got the signatures, got it on the ballot, and apolitical conservation as we know it in Missouri was born in 1935. The Conservation Federation also used the initiative petition process in 1976 to get our Design for Conservation sales tax. Folks on here have probably heard of the eighth of a penny sales tax that we have, that funds most specifically the Missouri Department of Conservation and its habitat management and wildlife management activities. So that was 76. And then in 1984, CFM was also instrumental in getting the Soils, Parks, and Waters sales tax passed, which is a tenth of a penny that goes to Missouri State Parks, and to the soil and water conservation districts. So lots of good stuff done by this organization to really drive forward the conservation movement here in Missouri. We are folks on some of you have probably heard this before, but we are the envy of other states, and the main reasons for that are the non-political conservation commission making decisions about how we manage land and wildlife, and that sales tax, those sales taxes. So I hope that certainly the yellers, but really everyone on here will consider getting involved in CFM. This is CFM's mission statement, and it's a very democratic, small d governance model where anybody can get involved. Literally, like your individual voice can come to the table and be heard at CFM. They hold many events every year to encourage outdoor pursuits among their members, but the general public as well. Do a lot of state level policy work. They're based in Jefferson City. They're at the Capitol all the time in support of science-based wildlife management. And a cornerstone of how CFM works are these policy resolutions. And these are statements that are crafted. Most of them are written by students, but some others as well. And what these do, and I'm going to make this bigger because this is one on microplastic pollution that was written by students. Basically, these go through a vetting process and a voting process on the part of CFM members. And if they are voted through, they become part of CFM's policy platform. And the weight and history of this very large state level conservation organization is behind these resolutions. So there's a ton to CFM, I mean a lot. But the things I want to highlight this evening are the Conservation Leadership Corps. So you can see here, this is a program for high school juniors and seniors, college freshmen, sophomores, lots of professional development, networking, volunteer events, a lot of the things that Addie and Julian and Paula said at the beginning of this meeting about how YEL is good for you and effective for you, kind of similar. And the young professionals part of the organization, you can see the points here. Basically, this is not just you don't necessarily have to be like in a wildlife or conservation or natural resources profession. Really, it's just outdoors minded folks of this age group that are living and working in Missouri. And to share with you a couple of photos from recent CLC and YoPro events. And I wanted to shout out because these were provided to me by Taylor Hurley, the education coordinator for CFM, who is on this call tonight. So if anybody wants to ask her questions, Taylor, sorry, but at the end, you can answer all kinds of questions about CFM and the CLC and YoPro programs.
Thank you. I would love to do that.
Yay. So just skipping back to MRBO now, we as an organization also work with a ton of other partners, and I sort of meant this slide to be just like super messy and overwhelming because I just want to tell folks, I mean, it seems like the yellers that are on here, like you already know the importance of networking, and it's so great that MIA and CFM and other organizations provide that opportunity because I mean, MRBO like would not exist without working with all of these other people. And this list is not even really exhaustive. And most importantly, the staff of MRBO. And we have two of these folks on here tonight. Marley, our operations assistant, who's been with us for several years. We poached her from the fish people because birds are the apex of evolution. And she's on here to answer questions about a project I'm going to talk about super briefly. And then definitely in the context and relevant to this topic we're on tonight, Story Smith, our awesome plastic pollution educator. So again, I'm now tossing you guys under the bus and saying that if people have questions, they can ask you two as well at the end. So this is where we're at now. This is what MRBO has done to date in 2025. ton of science, ton of field work, mostly bird surveys, mostly on imperiled grasslands, some in other habitats. Our sample sizes are really, really big, which give us really nice, robust statistics on bird populations and their habitat use. Um, and as far we do have other projects as well, other than survey projects. And the one that I want to call out here is this cute little creature, smallest falcon, the American kestrel. Marley runs a nest box placement and monitoring and landowner education and outreach program on this species. Really cool species. Education, you can just see like our numbers there, not even really getting into the content, but our staff is just out there doing stuff all the time, all the time. In the policy advocacy realm, we spend an awful lot of time talking to legislators, decision makers. Ethan and I have even taken to going to Washington, D.C. a couple times a year, testifying in Jefferson City, and then public workshops and presentations, just trying as much as we can to get the word out about how environmental conservation, wildlife policy really affects all of us and why it's really important for people to get involved and to be informed. It's not something that is elevated very much in the media. And so it's to us to be out there telling people about it. So these are the 4 main areas that we work on really. So ecosystem, conservation, and management, of course. Wildlife in the built environment, there's like a lot of ways to say this. I think it's like thriving coexistence between people and wildlife in our, urban and suburban spaces. The food system, which is, a multi-hour talk in and of itself. And then, of course, this plastic pollution debacle that Luz described so well. And I'm sorry, Luz mentioned in her talk earlier, she was like, I'm not going to show you the disturbing pictures. Well, I'm sorry, this is a content warning coming up the next 3 slides. I am going to show you the disturbing pictures. As a bird person, this is what brought me into working on plastic. Luz gave some of the history, but the frequency and geographic spread of this waste of ours has exponentially increased, of course, along with its production and use over the last 50 years, to the point where we have, 90% of seabirds with plastic in them, and birds feeding their young plastic. Birds are living in our trash. And last disturbing slide, this is a viral video on YouTube. This poor sea turtle. The one positive thing that one can say about this video is that at more than 30 million views on YouTube, it did a huge part in raising awareness over the last few years or so. So, again, Luz mentioned Judith, but when I realized the prevalence of plastic in our environment and in our wildlife was when I really wanted to become involved. Took Judith's class, which I highly recommend folks taking. It'll be offered again in the spring. I think I took it in like 2021. I've taken it a couple times because it's really good. MRBO became a Beyond Plastics affiliate after that. I worked with the Speakers Bureau after that, and now we and also our friends at Stream Teams United are part of the Beyond Plastics Network. So these are kind of the things that I really got out of Judith's class and my involvement with Beyond Plastics and other really good plastic organizations around the world, is that it's not just an environmental thing as much as that's the thing that moves me and got me into it. As far as our waste in the environment, it's also a climate issue. It is also very unjustly spread in terms of the humans that have to bear the brunt of the pollution, both from like the extraction of the fossil fuels all the way to waste in the environment. And Luz talked about health. So all of these fronts, this stuff is a problem. So all of this came together, amongst other things, into this big 3-year project, Show Me Less Plastic, that is a partnership between MRBO and Stream Teams United. It's funded by the Missouri Foundation for Health because, thank goodness, the Missouri Foundation for Health has recognized the extreme unhealthful effects of plastic and is doing stuff about it. So just to give you a little bit of a rundown, and Jamin, I'm almost done. I know we're a little short on time here. So this is the education portion of the project, public events, helping people get affiliated with Beyond Plastics and starting local groups, doing presentations, doing the implementation of plastic-free lunch days and helping schools, going kind of through that cafeteria culture framework. And then on the policy realm, one of the first things that was done was developing these outreach materials with deep research in its background, meeting with decision makers at all levels, convening decision maker roundtables, and then most especially creating a bunch of opportunities for Missourians across the state to really come together and learn about this topic, figure out like what they want to do about it themselves, like what motivates them to do things about it in their community, and then manage that growing network that we want to grow army here in Missouri. And I just want to throw some fireworks out, shout out to Emily Young of Stream Teams United, who has developed all of these materials, manages that network, and convenes the roundtables on here. So that's it for me. I put together a little Google Drive folder with a bunch of links and resources and things in it. And we hope to see you all at events and working on plastic together.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Dana.
Thanks, Jen.
Yay! Reactions. What a great segue from the science of what is plastics to how we can take action, right? And have our voices be heard. Nobody's better equipped to do advocacy than you, Dana. Thank you so much. We're going to turn it over now to Mary Culler. Take it away.
Thank you. It's wonderful to work with Dana and Luz, and thank you, Mia, for inviting me to speak as well tonight. So my name is Culler. I serve as the Executive Director of Stream Teams United. We are the Missouri Stream Team Watershed Coalition, a statewide nonprofit 501c3. And did you know that Missouri has another slogan in addition to the Show Me State? We are officially also known as the Great River State. In 2012, Stream Teams United worked within the Missouri State Legislature to gift Missouri an additional state slogan, the Great River State. And we truly are. I've worked in a number of states within the Midwest and taken classes in the Rockies and so forth. And whenever I've gone out of state, I've always wanted to come back to Missouri as a stream person, as a water person, because of our diverse and abundant water resources. So you look at the Missouri Boot Hill, the Ozarks, the historically prairie streams. We just have a great both abundance and diversity of water resources and the aquatic life that lives within those systems. Okay, my path to here. This is a photo from probably 2006. So I know Dana was excited to see this one. So I've been working here in the state of Missouri. I graduated from graduate school at Iowa State in the summer of 2006, moved back to Missouri because I was offered a position working with the state crayfish biologist. So this picture, I worked on a year-long research project studying the long-pincered crayfish at Table Rock Lake and spent about 3 days a month on Table Rock Lake for a year. And there is a published research article about that. If you're interested, you could Google long-pincered crayfish in Table Rock Lake, and you should be able to find that. But as was mentioned before, I'm originally from Springfield, Missouri, Southwest Missouri. A lot of kids growing up in the Ozarks. I developed a love for the clear Ozark streams and the fascinating aquatic ecosystems that call those places home. I obtained a BS biology degree from Southwest Missouri State, then went out of state for a master's degree, moved back to Missouri, worked for about 4.5 years with the conservation department doing fisheries biology work, and then moved over to the Department of Natural Resources, where I worked in both the drinking water programs and the water pollution programs, helping facilities and communities understand Missouri's both drinking water and wastewater related laws, and working with them to get them into compliance so that we can have clean water here in the state of Missouri. In 2018, I moved over to the world of nonprofit organizations into this position with Stream Teams United. So I've been here. So as part of a nonprofit, as a nonprofit executive director, I wear a lot of hats, and Dana is familiar with this, and others that have ever worked with nonprofits, but I do work with writing grants, managing grants, accounting work, managing projects, planning events, communications, media, education work, and sometimes occasionally I'm a chef. So it's fun, it is diverse, time in the office, time in the field. But as was mentioned earlier, my favorite part of this work is definitely working with the people that make up the Missouri Stream Team community, and people that are enthusiastic and passionate about our state's water resources. Okay, little critters. So I mentioned this, these two kiddos in this picture, this is an old picture. This was taken about 8 years ago before I started this position. And they are now 13 and 10. This is my daughter and my son. And I don't normally call them little critters, but we were sampling macroinvertebrates that day. But I threw this in there because they have definitely been an important part of my career the last 13 years as I've been doing the environmental work and also being their mom. And if you've ever been a family member of someone that works for a nonprofit, you also get to volunteer. So these kiddos have helped me out a number of times. And as they get older, they'll get to help me out even more. So the Missouri Stream Team program, a lot of you on this call probably heard of Missouri Stream Teams, but we still find in the state of Missouri that some people have never heard of Missouri Stream Team before. So I'll just give a little bit of a history. Missouri Stream Team started in 1989 when a group of fly fishermen around the Waynesville, Missouri area at Ruby Dew Creek noticed that their creek was trashed with litter. And so they worked with the advocates and the people at the Conservation Federation of Missouri to start Missouri Stream Team #1 called Ruby Dew Fly Fishers. And it grew in the last, it's 35 years. It just celebrated its 35th anniversary last year. So this year's 36 years old. By 1997, which would have been when I was in high school, there were 1,000 teams. And that was about my first stream team experience was at the Springfield Nature Center. If you've ever been there, my home that I grew up at was just about a mile away from the Springfield Nature Center. And so I went to a program there and literally got hooked on it and continued along this path of aquatic biology and stream stewardship for the rest of, for the last 20 some years. Missouri Stream Team grew to over 2,000 teams by 2002. I would have been an undergrad at that time. And then 2019, hopping ahead quite a few years, 6,000 Missouri Stream Teams. And so we are now over 6,000 stream teams in the state. Not all of those are still active because some people have retired out, but it's definitely a program that has had a tremendous positive effect on our state's water resources. And so these are some numbers, 35 years and counting, over 3 million volunteer hours, 370,000 trees planted, 32,000 water quality monitoring trips. So we do definitely know more about the quality of water in the state and about stream health because of this program. And then tons and tons of trash removed from our streams and thousands of educational presentations. In 1992, and help the program start the water quality portion monitoring. And so there are various levels where people can get trained to monitor water quality of whatever stream site that they choose. Okay, so Stream Teams United, a lot of times people think that I am the director of the entire Stream Team program all across the state. Luckily, that is not true. It is a partnership between the Missouri Department of Conservation, the Missouri Department of Natural Resources. So it's a partnership of those two state agencies, and then also the Conservation Federation of Missouri, or CFM, that Dana was talking about, as they are one of the founding nonprofit. In 1999, Stream Teams United was formed as an additional nonprofit partner because all of these stream teams, these thousands of stream teams, were popping up around the state, and there was the idea that these stream teams should know each other, they should network within their watershed, within their community, and they should collaborate. And they should also advocate for water. And so there was room for additional advocacy work for water and to fill a role that sometimes the state agencies, being government agencies, can't do in the role of advocacy. Okay, so I'll go back to that. So this map shows the stars are the different stream team associations located throughout the state, and those an association is a group of 2 or more stream teams that work together in their local area. And we are a coalition of these stream team associations around the state. So the directors for Stream Teams United, they are all Missouri Stream Team volunteers, or they work for one of the other healthy river organizations in the state. And so Stream Teams United, we are a coalition of all these people that are doing good things in their local watersheds. So what do we do? As I mentioned before, we are a nonprofit or non-government voice for stewardship of Missouri stream resources. And so being a non-government organization, there are things that we can do that our state agencies can't. So we facilitate communication about advocacy. We administer different grant projects like Dana mentioned. The plastic project is one of those that we are currently working on. We collaborate with stream teams around the state. People can donate money or equipment to us, and we can receive those donations. And again, advocacy. So a couple of the projects and programs we've worked on throughout the year, throughout the years, the Missouri Stream Team program is the Clean Marina program, which is a designation for marinas in the White River Lakes, like Lake Taneycomo, Table Rock Lake. We help stream teams with tire disposal. We've created educational banners and documents and other things. We have a weekly newsletter that we send out. So if you don't currently receive our newsletter, or if you don't currently follow us on social media, I would encourage you to do that. We have been helpful in compiling all the water quality data that has been taken over the decades and compiling that into reports so we can have an interpretation of this water quality data. And then another program that we have is Paddle Mow. So if that's new to you, check that out at paddlemow.org. And that started out as a 100-mile journey on the Missouri River from Herman to St. Louis through the confluence with the Mississippi. And it started in 2016, and we've continued it the last 10 years. This is the 10th anniversary for that program. It's a way to break down the barriers where people can experience some of our state's greatest rivers over multiple days and also receive a lot of education and skills along the way. In addition, we are an AmeriCorps sponsor. We have hosted AmeriCorps members since 2019, so we're in our 6th year, and we've hosted over 30 AmeriCorps members at like 10 stream team sites around the state. And those AmeriCorps members are each working to build capacity for water quality education at their host sites, and have done a lot of positive things. So we've seen a lot of growth of a lot of different water education programs throughout Missouri in the last 5 or 6 years because of these AmeriCorps members. And then finally, advocacy, spending some time at the state capitol, having some conversations that we can, because we are a nonprofit. And you know, in this photo, we host a Great River State Day at the state capitol, and that's similar to CFM's Conservation Day at the Capitol. I believe next year we are scheduled for April 14th. And so we'll have some more information coming out about that. But in this photo, we are recognizing one of the legislators that has sponsored positive legislation in the world of water. Okay, so a few things about freshwater and the topic of plastic. And so a few slides here related to the freshwater biome and what things affect freshwater. So I was asked a couple years ago to speak about the freshwater biome at it was the Global Freshwater Summit hosted by the United Nations. And so I thought, wow, that's a large audience. Again, that's a global audience. So what things are all in common when we talk about freshwater? And I came to kind of like three main categories of what big topic items are affecting our water resources. And the first is the rivers. The rivers need room. Okay, they need floodplains. Over time, we've channelized rivers, we've constructed floodplains, and so we're seeing the effects of that through massive flooding, through additional pollution. Second, our watersheds need living roots. You know, the state of Missouri, we just had our 50th or 200th by the bicentennial. You know, so we as humans have been drastically changing the landscape of our nation, of our state, for over 200 years, and we've changed the living roots of our watersheds. And then the third, control or reduction of anthropogenic pollution to surface and groundwaters. And so that third topic is where the topic of plastic comes in, is what have we introduced in our anthropogenic or human activities into these environments. So just a couple of slides, and I mentioned this before, but the rivers need room. They need their floodplains. We talk about a river being a living ecosystem. It's kind of like, and I think about my kids, you know, if someone gets in their room, you know, we all need our space, right? Everybody needs a little space, and rivers are just the same. If we take too much of their space, they're going to react in a negative way, and we're seeing that with flooding and the damage caused by flooding. Again, give roots to the watershed. This photo on the right, you know, native prairie grasslands. The photo on the left is an agricultural field. It does have a cover crop growing in it, but you know, there's just, you know, thousands and thousands of acres in Missouri and the Midwest that are bare from being tilled to grow row crops. They're just completely bare for months of the year, and that has had a huge negative impact on downstream waters by the amount of sediment that's washed into our rivers and streams and the chemicals that have been carried with it. So, you know, native plants, look at their tremendous root systems. It's truly amazing. So as much of this type of root system we can have in our watersheds, the better, because it holds soil in place and it filters out whatever might be running off the landscape. Okay, and then the last one, control reduction of anthropogenic or human derived pollutants into surface and groundwaters. And there's a lot of things that have, you know, flowed into our rivers and lakes in the last several decades. Plastic is one that it's an issue that has definitely evolved over the last 20 years. And I say that because I talk to our young professionals that we have as staff. Dana mentioned Emily Young. She's on board with us here at Stream Teams United, and Story Smith and Melina, and they are definitely in that Yeller group. But I've told them before, you know, when I was an undergrad, when I was in grad school, we were not even talking about the issue of plastic. We were talking about nutrients and Gulf hypoxia. Those things, we're still talking about Gulf hypoxia. We haven't solved that issue. But the issue of plastic has definitely evolved and grown, and much more knowledge about it just during my career. And Luce shared this image, and this is why it matters. It's because, you know, Stream Teams, we've picked out, and I say we, you know, the volunteers that have participated in Stream Team activities and similar programs in other states, we've picked up, you know, tons and tons of plastic bottles, but they degrade, you know, and this is why it's good to get them out of the environment. But for those that we can't capture, over time, they're going to degrade into the microplastics and the nanoplastics. And so, as Dana mentioned, we have a 3-year project going on to raise awareness about this issue and help facilitate action within Missouri's communities. And I will drop a few links into the chat so you can find more information, there's just a wealth of information out there. But this is our project webpage at streamteamsunited.org under the Advocate tab, Show Me Less Plastic. And then I was asked to talk about like the effects of plastic on aquatic life. And Emily, as we've mentioned before, Emily did a lot of research and pulled together some great resource pages. And so those are also on our website. But basically, plastic has been found everywhere. It's almost like if you sample for it and expect to find it. And so there's some common themes, and this is from one of the fact sheets available as far as how does it affect aquatic life. Different ways, from physical injury, either entanglement or drowning, choking, physical injury, plastics being ingested, and then it transfers up the food chain. So it affects digestion. It could cause a physical injury like lacerated intestines. Again, if animals have eaten plastic, they may feel like they're hungry. They're not getting nutrition from this plastic. But then in addition to those physical effects, there's chemical effects, because we know that plastic has up to 16,000 different chemicals in it. And there's those chemical effects that Luce was talking about. Okay, again, a lot of resources. I will drop these into the chat. You can learn more and dive as deep into this as you want. And I also found there's a lot of articles talking about effects of plastic on macroinvertebrates, and there is a really good review article on that topic. So how to get involved. This is a little bit similar to what Dana was talking about, education and awareness. Let's be aware of what the issues are and being environmentally conscious of those issues, and then working towards policy, because education just by itself without the policy, we're going to be in an area where we've known for years. Like when I was in grad school in Iowa, they were talking about how important riparian buffers are. And so we know that putting in buffers next to streams are a good thing for water. But how do we get there? How do we get buffers across the landscape? It's been a voluntary approach, and a lot of times that voluntary approach has not been effective. So you can only do so much with voluntary actions. You really need good policy to have good environmental protection. And so we're working towards that. And then, as Dana also mentioned, planning collaboration with all these groups. What's great about the state of Missouri is all the different groups that work together towards positive actions. If you're not yet a Missouri Stream Team member, you can become a Missouri Stream Team member. It's very easy. Go to mostreamteam.org and scroll down. Start a Team is right there. And the calendar of events is a great place to check out, because there's stuff going on all throughout the year. Things slow down a little bit mid-November through maybe February, but for the most part, 9 months of the year, there are activities going on. Just show up. You'll meet people. It's a very welcoming group. Just show up, and that's how you can get involved. If you're not yet following us, check us out at Mo Stream Team on social media and at streamteamsunited.org. You can sign up for our bulletin. Hey, that is what I have.
Yay! Oh my gosh, what a diverse, full of not just information, but just like I feel so pumped to get out and do my part. I hope everybody feels that way. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, all three of you. We do have some awesome questions in the chat, and we're going to start with a couple up at the top here that we'll have Luce answer for us. One of them is actually you answered. The question was, is it true that chewing gum has microplastics? And the answer is yes. Also, Luce, could you answer the question of how helpful is curbside recycling? Does that really work?
So recycling works. Recycling works for paper. Recycling works for aluminum cans. Recycling works for cardboard. Recycling does not work for plastic. because because plastic has many different chemical components, and some items are not acceptable in your curbside. So, for example, when you see a plastic container, you're going to notice that it's going to have a number at the bottom in a little triangle. That number designates the residence in that plastic container. Just because it has the recycling sign doesn't mean that it's recyclable. Number 1 and 2 are taken anytime. Your peanut butter jar, as long as it's clean and it's not contaminated, or it will not contaminate the recycling items in your bin, is taken. The bottles of water, your jars of milk, even the shampoo and things like that. Number 4 and 5 are number 5 is sometimes taken. That's your yogurt, your syrup bottles, and your your butter. Number 5, of course, number 4, of course, is plastic bags. The recycling company does not want to have the plastic bags because they entangle the machine and cause a lot of damage, and it's expensive. And you know, for example, that you've seen at the stores, the little boxes where they are encouraging the consumers to go and take the plastic bags from the grocery stores and, you know, Target and you name it, back to the store and put them in these boxes. Well, guess what? Yes, the stores are collecting those, but those plastic bags are not being recycled. Those plastic bags go to the landfill. And it's been shown, a lot of research has been done by Bloomberg, by Reuters, by companies. There are actually a lot of videos showing that these plastic bags are not. And so you are collecting them for the sake of the recycling company not getting those bags that are going to cause damage in the equipment. So recycling of your paper, your magazines, your cardboard, your glass, those things work. When it comes to plastic, it's a different story. It's just limited to number 1 and 2. Number 5, again, your yogurt and your peanut butter, as long as that's clean, that it does not contaminate the entire bin. It's important. Styrofoam is obviously not recyclable. It needs to go to a specific plant that handles styrofoam. So anything else needs to actually go into the garbage. It cannot go into your recycling bin.
Okay, that's a bummer, but it's good to know the truth. So
it hurts.
Data, right? Data, science is what matters. So we need to go down a different road with our recycling. Good question. Thank you. Thank you, Luz. Hey, Dana, the next one's for you. What do you see as the most, they asked, what's the most, the main reason why we're seeing so much diversity, biodiversity loss, particularly with our birds? What's causing that? Like the most?
Yeah, I just went ahead and answered this in the chat, Jamin.
Okay, great.
I don't know. I mean, do you want me to speak it? I was just trying to be time conscious. Do you want me to speak it out? But habitat loss, and then as far as birds, there's some other factors.
No, it's okay. You can go ahead and answer it, or I can read it for you if you don't have it up, what you said. But you're the expert. You know this answer.
Yeah, I mean, originally and since European settlement, habitat loss and conversion. So in the state of Missouri, a significant factor is industrial agriculture and the fact that we've taken some of our most important habitats, such as native prairie, which Mary was showing those pictures with native prairie plants,
right,
and great farm ground, and we've converted everything but 1%. There's a not insignificant, but still lesser effect by, development, urban and suburban development. That is a big problem in the floodplains, as anyone here from St. Louis or Kansas City certainly knows. But as far as like birds are concerned, and to some extent other critters, but birds specifically, they're very prone to collisions with windows. That kills about 1 billion birds a year, and outdoor cats take out another couple billion, and the toll on small mammals and reptiles and amphibians is is similarly large, if not larger. So and then of course we have an ongoing decades-long war on insects, and you take out that level of a food web and everything around it is gonna get hurt as well. So it's kind of like death by a thousand cuts kind of thing.
Right. Interesting. Thank you. Thank you. We have a tendency to forget that habitat loss is everywhere, in every place, all across the world, and we are what's causing that. I guess the last comment that I will add, and this one's for Mary, and this resonates really with Leslie and myself both. You had mentioned, you showed your kids. The reason that Yellers, the whole YEL concept was created, because Leslie and I both, it's a passion project because we both have Gen Z kids. And I think there's really something to that, whether you have children of your own or not, knowing that the young people that are here tonight, the young people in this world, we've got to lift them up and give them a voice. And that's what this is all about. So I appreciate you showing your kids and showing your passion and your inspiration of how long you've been taking them out to the creek. It's very, very important. Hey, there's so many other questions and comments in the chat, but we're going to have to wrap it up pretty quickly now. But right now, I'd like to give a big shout out from all of our participants to our experts, our presenters. Let's give it up for Luce and Dana and Mary and all of the great work that you do and this fantastic information that you've provided with us about plastics environment. Thank you so very much. Yay.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing how folks can get involved, but also your career journey. And one thing that just stuck out to me that I'm hoping maybe stuck out to some of the yellers on the call is just the wide variety of jobs that are related to tackling this specific issue. Even I was thinking when you talked about Ethan being a drone pilot, because I saw a lot of bachelor's degree, master's degree, but there are things in, technical, very specific technical skills that you can get certifications into. So your environmental awareness and desire for stewardship is going to come in handy wherever you land. So yeah, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. And if you can stick around, we do want to end this presentation, this webinar tonight. This has kind of become sort of the standard way to finish up. We do have a project in iNaturalist that is the YEL observations. And this time, the person, not counting me, because I'm a total iNaturalist geek and it doesn't count, the person who had the most observations this quarter is, drum roll please, is it Addie? No, it is Mina Zonka. She's not on this call.
All right, good for
Mina
her.
Zonka, yay. If you want more information about how to join that, and how, I want to challenge you all to try to catch up, because I have been seriously geeking out about this and it's so much fun. But also what I've discovered is iNaturalist, the updated version of it. There is a lot of citizen science, community science, lots and lots of publications that you can find. And they have really updated their ability to, the technical ability to really identify organisms anywhere in the world. So highly recommend that you get in. It's a free app, and join the YEL project.
Great.
And Leslie, did you want to mention something about our next stipended projects?
I just put it in the chat, y'all. I know we're way over time, so it'll go out in the email that should go out tomorrow, Monday at the latest, with the recording and all of that, all the resources. But if you're interested in checking it out tonight, grab the chat before you log off. And thank you for spending Thursday evening with us, learning a lot and hopefully getting inspired to act.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Stay in touch and join the Young Environmental Leaders. We'd love to have you. Take care, everybody. Thanks again to our speakers.